What's up guys, Megadpal here, and I'm here today to do a guest narration for JohnOrigins, who is currently sick at the moment. And funny story actually, I've actually been sick the last couple of weeks as well, so it must be something that's going around England. But anyway, that's a little bit off topic. So today I'm here to narrate a battle for you. This battle is between JohnOrigins, of course, and his good friend Mizticall. So you guys have been subbed to JohnOrigins for a while now, and you always know when John plays Mike, it's always a very good battle, so you're in for a treat today. So let's just get straight into the battle, shall we? So John's actually going to lead out with his Landorus T, as Mike is also going to lead out with his Landorus T, and John in fact told me that his Landorus is Choice Scarf, but as you will see, Mike's Intimidate is going to activate first, thus therefore telling John that Mike is also running Choice Scarf Landorus. So what Mike's going to do is actually going to go straight for that U-turn. He in fact wins the speed time. Just go for that U-turn, I guess not wanting to go for him Power Ice, locking himself in this early, knowing full well that HP Ice does in fact KO the Landorus. I believe it does around about 75%. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. He's going to U-turn out, go out into the Keldeo, I guess predicting the HP Ice, or in fact the Stealth Rocks. Either way it works out nice for him. Eating up that HP Ice and obviously going to force Landorus out. John's obviously not going to want to take a Hydro Pump to the face. He does in fact have a good wall to his Keldeo in the form of his Jellicent. But Mike's going to pick that nicely, go straight for that Hidden Power Ghost. A lot of Keldeos run HP Ghost as opposed to HP Bug, just because Celibate isn't in fact that common these days. And that was super effective, life wall boosted Hidden Power Ghost, and special offensive Jellicent still ate that up really nicely. So knowing that Mike's obviously going to switch on out of there, what John's going to do is in fact go straight for that Toxic on the predicted switch on the incoming Gastron, which turns out really nice just because Gastron is a pretty nice special wall, and obviously the residual damage from Toxic is in fact going to start to rack up nicely. So what John's in fact going to do the following turn, I believe he's actually going to predict the switch once again, knowing that a special offensive Gastron can't do too much to a special offensive Jellicent, so he's going to predict that switching out once again. Mike does in fact switch and goes straight into his Electros, as John predicts that nicely, goes straight for that Toxic, going for that double Toxic, works out well, just because this Electros is in fact a huge threat. Don't underestimate the power of Electros, and obviously once again the residual damage will start to help out John a whole lot. And despite being a special offensive Jellicent, he obviously doesn't want to stay in and take Thunderbolt, just because he needs his Jellicent health for his Keldeo, just because Keldeo is a huge threat to his team. So he's going to make the switch, go straight onto his Landorus, predicting that Thunderbolt. As what Mike's going to do, just play it safe, just go straight for that Thunderbolt. I guess he had no reason to over-predict at that point. And what he's going to in fact do now, John's just go straight for that U-turn, try and get a bit of damage off on this Electros in combination with the Toxic damage, try and wear this thing down as soon as possible. Does a decent chunk with the U-turn. He's actually going to go back into a Jellicent, I guess predicting the Flamethrower. But Mike's going to predict that Pro Play, just go straight for that Thunderbolt, does a whole lot to this Jellicent. Does around about 85 to 90%, a whole lot of damage to this Jellicent. It's a really nice play by Mike. So what he's in fact going to do now, Johnny obviously doesn't want to take another Thunderbolt and die. So what he's going to do is potentially use his Jellicent as Death Fodder for later. So he's going to go out into Shaman just to take a Thunderbolt, or in this case the Giga Drain Mike, just trying to get a little bit of HP back from that Jellicent. But either way it works out nice for John, as obviously he can threaten this thing out or take it out with a potential Seed Flare. So I think what in fact John's going to do is actually going to go for that Synthesis, I guess try and scout how much the Flamethrower would in fact do to the Shaman. Just because Shaman's relatively bulky, he can eat it up, and obviously try and stall out the Toxic damage on the Electros. So he's just going to go for that Synthesis as Mike makes the switch, goes out into his Skarmory, leaving his Electros for Death Fodder as later for Death Fodder. So obviously the Skarmory pretty much walls it, Shaman. So what he's going to do is he's going to go straight out to his Hydreigon. That's a pretty funny name for the Hydreigon. I'm sorry, Cody. Well, I don't know what I'm saying sorry for, I didn't nickname it. But Mike's just going to go straight for the rocks on a predicted switch, which turns out nice. Now what Mike's going to do is in fact just going to use Electros as Death Fodder right now. See what this Hydreigon potentially quote unquote locks himself into. The reason why I say quote unquote just because Mike obviously doesn't know whether this thing is in fact choiced as of yet. And I expect him to be choiced and locked into the Dark Pulse. He's going to go out into his Keldeo, obviously threaten this thing out with a Secret Sword. Though he's switching Jellicent is obvious, but Mike has no reason to predict at this point. Just because even if he does bring in the Jellicent, then the following turn he can just go for the HP Ghost, obviously outspeeding and taking out the Jellicent. So that's exactly what he's going to do when John's just using Jelly as Death Fodder at this point, just to get a free switch into anything and go from there. So the HP Ghost takes out the Jellicent, and it's going to go into his Shaman now, I do believe that's what I'd go into. Yeah, he's going to go into that Shaman. Obviously once again threatening this Keldeo out. not wanting to stay in and take a Seed Flare. So he's just going to play it safe. John just goes straight for that Seed Flare. Is that Mike actually brings in his Charizard now. Obviously being ×4 resistant to the Seed Flare, going to easily eat up the Seed Flare. And what actually this turn is in fact pretty crucial. What John's going to do is in fact predict Mike to be Charizard X and actually go straight for that Seed Flare, expecting him to go for that DD, fearing him to switch. Mike does in fact Mega Evolve, is in fact Charizard X, but what John in fact told me is Mike went straight for that Flare Blitz, but John won the speed tie, able to get off that Earth Power, and he does in fact score a crit. However, this crit does not matter just because the initial damage from the Seed Flare in combination with the Earth Power damage is enough to take out the Charizard. So a very crucial speed tie one there, otherwise his Shaman would have been out of there, and his Shaman is a huge threat to Mike's team. As you will see, he's going to send in the Keldeo, hoping to take it out with the Secret Sword. Not going to manage to, and obviously the Shaman can retaliate back once again with that very powerful Stab Seed Flare, wiping out his Keldeo, so taking out two huge threats in the form of Keldeo and Charizard X now. So Shaman putting in that work, and obviously going to live the recoil damage from the Life Orb. So what Mike's going to do now is go into his Landorus, just revenge kill this, as we established turn 1 that this Landorus is in fact Choice Scarf. So he can just go straight for that U-turn and revenge kill the Shaman. So down goes Shaman, definitely putting in that work though, like I keep saying. So this however does in fact give John the switch initiative. So he's just going to see what Mike's going to go into and go from there. It does in fact bring in his Skarmory, so he gets a free switch into his Hydreigon now. What he's actually going to do is just go straight for the Dark Pulse. I guess predicting him to go into the his Gastron is the safest play, as what Mike's going to do is just go for that Roost. I guess scout him once again, potentially see what this thing quote unquote locks himself into. But as you will see, Hydreigon's just going to reveal the lefty, so therefore this thing isn't in fact choice. And after the lefty for the Skarmory, is going to get back to Sturdy, so knowing full well he can actually, well I believe he gets back to Sturdy. So what he's going to do is in fact switch, not wanting to take a Fire Blast, and he's actually going to go out into his Landorus at this point, just because he knows that this thing obviously isn't boosted by Specs or Life Orb, so can easily eat up this Fire Blast, does around about 50%, and therefore he can try and force out John, obviously not wanting to take it, potentially not wanting to take a U-turn, or if he does in fact stay in, get off the massive damage with the U-turn. John does stay in, knowing he can live, does around about 75%, which is a pretty decent chunk, and is going to go out into his Gastrodon now, I do believe, just take a Draco or a Dark Pulse. So John's actually going to go straight for that Dark Pulse. A little unfortunate for Mike, because he does in fact score a crit, doing a whole lot of damage to the special defensive Gastrodon, which is a little unfortunate because damage of course is damage, and this Gastrodon is already inflicted with the Toxic, therefore he's going to take a lot of residual damage from that, potentially forced to recover or just use his thing as Death Fodder. So what he's actually going to do now is going to make a slight over prediction. John is going to predict the Skarmory to come in, expecting Mike to be fearing the Draco, so therefore he's going to go straight for that Fire Blast. As Mike predicts that, stays in, eats up the Fire Blast, retaliates back with an Ice Beam, taking out the Hydreigon, which is pretty nice for Mike. This however does in fact give John a free switch into his Lucario, expecting this Gastron's moveset to be Scald, Ice Beam, which is just revealed, most likely Toxic for status, and of course Recover. So therefore, knowing that there's not too much this Gastron can do, and maybe hoping for a Scald Burn, so he's going to go straight on out into this Lucario. This battle of course was taken for Mega Loop, was in fact banned, so he's just going to go straight for that Swords Dance, trying to set up on this thing. But as you are going to see, Mike's going to totally catch him by surprise, reveal the Earth Power, and I believe with Calctis, I'm not 100% sure again, but I believe he had an 18.5% chance to Oko. Therefore, John, the odds was in his favour to live, and he does survive with that 2 HP, which is pretty incredible. So it'd have been pretty unlucky for John if he'd have got wiped out at this point, just because Mega Luke, of course, is a huge threat, as we all know. And he's just going to go Fat Crunch and wipe out the Gastrodon now. But Mike does in fact have a Skarmory with Sturdy intact, therefore can just send out that thing. Like I said, the Sturdy is intact, so it can eat up this close combat, does a whole lot, smashes it down to the Sturdy, and Mike's just going to go straight for that Brave Bird and take out the Lucario. Obviously, not wanting to mess around with the thing, just get rid of the thing with the Brave Bird, just because we all know Luke is a huge ass threat. So down goes Mega Lucario, but as you will see, the recoil from the Brave Bird is going to result in a double down. This however brings both John and Mike down to their last Pokemon. Incidentally, it was both the first Pokemon that they led with off in this battle. being both their choice score for Landorus. And here, looking at the HP that Mike's Landorus is on, and the HP that John's Landorus on, despite the self-rock damage, I'm pretty sure Mike cannot take out Landorus with a HP ice at this point, regardless of him losing the speed tie. I'm pretty sure this would have been John's game. So that was a very close, narrow 1-0. Like I said at the start, you guys wouldn't have been disappointed by this, by John versus Mike, and you wasn't. So very good game, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment down below. Of course, subscribe to John if you haven't already, and obviously stay subscribed to him. Go check out Mike and his channel, and feel free to check me out if you guys enjoyed. So once again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.